Good evening, everybody, and welcome into the show. Welcome into show number 100. We did it, everybody. We actually made it to show number 100, and we appreciate you joining us here, whether it be through the magic of time. I guess it's not really time, it's recording, and you can watch it and listen to it whenever you want. But anyway, thank you ever so much. As always, we thank you guys for joining us, and today, more than ever, we thank you for joining us because, hey, show 100 certainly would not have happened without you guys. It is May the 28th, 2015. I am your host, Trevor, and Chad is blue. I don't know why, but he's not anymore, so it's okay. Joining me, as always, for the last 100 shows, although, well, there was a couple little anomalies here and there, but we'll just say, you know, as always, Mr. Chad Dalton, how you doing tonight, Chad?
I am doing awesome. This is actually my 99th show. I've only missed one, and I had a valid reason. So, yeah, we're doing pretty good. We're on a roll, man. Let's go. Here's to another 100, even though I don't have a drink. Okay.
Yeah, I think I've only missed, I missed one and a bit, because there was that one early on that I had to jump on, like ran home. I ran over several grandmothers and small children to make it in time. But it was that important.
Seemed like a very nice thing to do.
Well, I mean, for the fans. See, if you just say for the fans, then it makes it all okay. I mean, you know, as long as it's for the fans, you know, for the people.
It's like a celebrity thing.
Yeah. I mean, the paparazzis were well, they weren't really, but anyway. I digress. But then again, I've been digressing for 100 shows. Why should I stop now? Okay, I'll stop at 101. 101, serious from that point on. From now,
good.
I still get to be goofy. But
okay.
Anyway, it's the 100th episode of the iRacing Today radio show, May the 28th. Thank you for joining us. We got a great show for you guys this week. And we've been advertising as much as possible about what was actually going on this week. But before we get to the highlight of the show, we've got some news, a couple things going on about, I don't know, some big races, some releases coming up, and that sort of thing. And then, of course, and then before we get to the good thing, I'm going to talk a little bit about a side project I've mentioned a few times, but I'm starting to move forward on that, and I'll give you some details on how I'm going to be helping the children coming up in 6 weeks, which I'm really excited about, but we'll give you some details on that. And then, of course, we will have our interview with the president of iRacing.com, Mr. Tony Gardner. And I know you guys are going to enjoy that. We enjoyed talking to him. We enjoyed having that interview. It was a great time. Tony was a great guest, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy that interview. But before we get to that, we're going to talk a little bit about some news coming up. As I adjust my headphones because it still messes me up when I cannot hear my own voice in my ears naturally. If it's all echoey, completely messes me up. But we have the new build coming up pretty soon, and we know that one thing that's going to be in that build is Five Flag Speedway. And we've talked about that in the past, and they have released a preview video of it showing, doing their typical iRacing sizzle reel of all the highlights and stuff. And, there's obviously going to be a day and night version. It is coming out with the new build, and it looks pretty cool. It's one of the things where I talk to you, Chad. It's like, you know what? It's just another short track to a degree. I mean, I say that dismissively, but I mean, it's another short track. We have a lot on the sim, but then I watch the video and I just look at all the little details, and it still gets me excited. I mean, it's one of those things when they show the close-up view, kind of like the bumper cam kind of thing, and you just look at the texture in the track. Like, I don't know, but that just totally excites me. I just love seeing just the little marks and grooves in the track. You never see it when you're racing, but for some reason I just find that so cool.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and I found it funny that, big thing, it's like, home of the famous snowball derby and all this good stuff. It's like, well, yes. We're not going to get dirt racing. Are we going to get snow racing? See, that's what I want to know. I mean, Because that's what the snowball derby is. They take late models and they put them in the snow, right? Right?
Yeah, yeah, you've totally nailed it. Yeah, I think that we should have our own version of the Snowball Derby. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. Looking at iRacing and different leagues. I know the Short Track Pro Cup would be all over that as a Thunder event, as they used to call them. But yes, Five Flags. We've known about it for a while, but it is a cool track, and I am personally excited about it because to me, it's not just another short track. I love short tracks. Short tracks are awesome.
They are, and I've raced more short track ovals than other ovals, but I don't know. Just I need space to be as horrible as I am. If you get me all crowded in there, my horribleness is exponentially exposed.
Yeah, which is why you love racing on road
You heard
courses
that
because
too,
then you
right?
can suddenly be in the middle of a hayfield and a porta potty. So, anyways, there is something that we're going to tease that some of you may or may not have caught. Don't say what it is, Trevor, in case you saw it.
Okay.
But there was a little flash of something in that video that excites me personally, but we're saving that for the Tony Gardner interview because he does mention it, which was at the time the first time that I think that had been mentioned. But I think since then, it has been not fully released. Is one of those things where it was like, ooh, quick, did you catch it? So we'll see how many of you caught it.
I was going to say, I was there for the interview. I saw the video. I don't even know what you're talking about. I mean, there's a few
Okay,
things
well,
that he bumped out.
that makes me excited.
That we were looking at, saying, I don't think they mentioned that. I'm just trying to remember what piece, the pieces of the puzzle that fit
Just
together.
Stop. Nope. Anyways, something else that we've known for a while that's coming out in the new build is, of course, the Aston Martin race car, which I know several of you are excited about. And we have our final full render, our final render of it, but it's a full version of the render of that car. And yes, of course, it looks sweet. I'm, of course, going to pick up that car because I am planning to race the GT1 series, and I think all of you should come and join me. Just because I can always have an official race, because it's all about me.
Well, true. And I guess, the more show listeners that actually tune in, to hear and then say, well, you know what? I should race that series. We could make series become official just through the power of our show. I mean, there are people on the forums that, they rescued the Lotus 49 there and made that, those go official because, they through their hard work and dedication in forming a community. So why can't we use the power of us for good instead of all the evil that we normally do? We're pretty.
We is not included in that sentence.
Oh, okay.
Just you.
I'm the evil person. Well, you need a
Yes.
good guy, but good host,
Yeah.
bad host.
White hat, black hat.
And since I've got the beard, I'm obviously the evil one. So
Yes,
if
you
TV has
are.
taught us anything,
But yes, the Aston Martin looks good, and it looks like it's going to be a fun car to race, especially with Corvette. So we'll have to get that one out when we are allowed to drive it in a couple weeks. I'm sure it'll probably be about $11.95 US money, which is typically what something like that is. So looking forward to that series and that car in particular, and also just to be able to race the Corvette because it will probably have official rooms. But speaking of looking forward to racing things, there's nothing happening this weekend
nope.
that involves IndyCar racing whatsoever.
That's oddly specific. But as everybody probably knows by now, at least those of us who are excited about oval racing, or at least racing in North America, last weekend had the official Indy 500, which they were on their 99th official running of the Indy 500. So even they haven't made it to 100 shows. So we're better than the Indy 500.
Yeah. And less time.
And it
too.
took it way less time, two and a bit years, man. They took 99 years, well, plus.
Yeah.
But anyway, they raced their official race last week. I call it the official race. The actual Indy 500 ran. So this weekend is our chance to run the virtual version, the iRacing Indy 500. Starts tomorrow evening or Saturday morning over in the Europe area. And those time slots from May the 29th to the 31st, or through the 31st, I guess, there will be Race number 1, Saturday at 1 GMT, which is Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturday at 2000 GMT, which is Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Sunday at 1 GMT, which is Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And the final race on Sunday at 12 GMT, which is Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. The Twitter hashtag will be hashtag iRacingIndy500. Makes sense to me. And, of course, they will be using the U.S. servers only, so sorry, European racers, you will have to deal with a little bit of lag in that race. And, 230 miles an hour, what's a little, a few milliseconds among friends. The car will, of course, be the Dallara DW12, and the track will be Indy Oval because it's the Indy 500. So
That would be dumb to race at Daytona. A 15-minute warm-up is, of course, going to be at the beginning, or before the race, rather, and that is mostly there to allow extra time for everybody to join, because a lot of people in the past, servers, have been interesting. This event, of course, is official. See, ours is official. Theirs was real. Ours is official.
See, that's why I kept saying official. That's what the
Yeah.
word that kept popping in my head. It's like, well, it's an official race. It's like, yes, it was the official race. It was real race car drivers driving real cars and drinking real milk.
Yes. Wait, do we have to drink fake milk? That would be weird.
Virtual milk, actually. And for the love of Pete, Juan Pablo Montoya won the Indy 500. So as Brad Keselowski says, stop making fun of him running into a jet dryer because it makes me mad. Grr. Apparently that was a story. He was all like, leave him alone. He won the Indy 500 for criminy sake. Just stop making fun of him about the jet dryer. It's like, really? That's okay. Thanks. Thanks, Brad.
Are you done?
Yes, sir.
We won't have the opportunity to run into jet dryers, unfortunately, but the official session rules will apply because, as I said, this is an official session. Safety rating, iRating also applying. There are no resets in this race. Cry face. Damage repair is, of course, on, though, and with that new damage model, you blow an engine, you might have to sit there for forever.
Yeah.
But you can fick it. You can fick it. There we go.
Yes, you can fix.
Fix it. But anyways, typical pit stop rules will be in effect. Of course, you've got like 6-7 second pit stops in the IndyCar in case you have not raced an IndyCar. The race will begin with a rolling start behind the old pace car, Ford Mustang iRacing pace car. The full course yellows are on. Single file restarts will be used. Hopefully we won't have to use any of those because it'd be really awesome to run the whole race green.
No. You need at least a few in there, man, because that gets taxing on your brain. Like, you need a break to just kind of, and 6 seconds is not enough.
Give me the finish line. But the all members in good standing with at least an oval, I'm going to quote that there, license of Class D 4.0 and above will be eligible to compete in the race. And of course, the race length is 200 laps. You can have up to 24 incident points before they boot you, and each split could see up to 33 race cars. So qualifying just ended, a couple hours ago. And so hopefully you got your time in. If you didn't, then you're going to be placed behind everybody that did get a time by iRating. Trevor, how was your qualifying affair?
Yeah, I was actually just going to bring that up to see where I finished up. It wasn't good. I say it wasn't good. It was, okay. But not near not near the time. I qualified in position 297 out of 496 people who qualified. So not quite half, but close. With a time of 39.831, which upsets me because I actually had a qualifying run going last night or the night before. Anyway, the last time I actually tried the qualifying lap, I had one that was about a tenth faster. And like all the laps were in the 0.7s, but still it wouldn't have put me, anywhere near the top split, but it was still a fair bit better than what I did. And then on turn 4, lap 4, I lost the rear end of it and she came around and I smashed it and I flipped through the air spectacularly. And I was very upset because I never got a chance to actually put another qualifying lap in. So where did you end up, Mr. Chad?
Well, at the beginning of the week, I did not have a good lap up, even though most people will think that I did, but I was not happy with it. My first, I only ran 2 sessions, and my first one, I got a 67 out of it. But tonight I got on, used a totally different setup, and it wasn't that much faster, but it was faster, or fast enough, at least, to improve my time to a 62. So I picked up not a lot, but enough to gain me actually quite a few spots, and I moved up to 104th on the list. So,
Nice.
depending on how many people show up, which I'm racing tomorrow night, FYI, um, I will either be in the third or the fourth split, just kind of depending on who comes and who does not come, unless a ton of those top 100 don't come, and then I will be even higher, but I doubt that. Um, which kind of sort of has me a little concerned because if I don't anticipate all 103 people that are ahead of me to show up tomorrow, so that probably means I'm going to be in the third split, which probably means that I will be towards the rear of the field in the third split, which is exactly where I do not want to be. So that could be interesting tomorrow, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering. I'm thinking with where I ended up, like just a little bit past halfway, kind of thing. I'm guessing that I'm probably going to be in a split where, like, amongst the people that I should be with, kind of thing, because people are either going to put all their effort into qualifying setups. So you might have some people who are higher up qualified but aren't, necessarily great in race, and you're going to have people who qualified poorly. Well, I'm not going to say to speak ill of people, but there are potentially people who could have qualified poorly in order to get themselves into lower splits. They'd have a better chance at winning. They're going to be at the lower half. I figure right around the middle is where people just kind of, that's where they ended up. So, but anyway, so I'm hoping that I'll be in a good split there, and I think Chad has lost video on me, but that's okay because it's still going out to the internets, so I'm not going to worry too heavily about it. My webcams are doing some funny things to me this evening. Fortunately, not my actual broadcast one, so it's okay. It does not matter. It's only Chad, and he can watch the stream later if it
Oh,
really matters.
fun.
Couple things of note. I also will be driving in that Friday evening race. That's my one chance to get a race in. Between family and everything else going on, that was my one slot that I was able to allocate off. So it will be racing tomorrow night at 7 p.m. my time, 9 p.m. Eastern. I will be streaming the race, so head over to my Twitch channel, which, in case you're not there currently watching this show or don't know, it is twitch.tv/ratface productions. There are two T's in ratface. So I'll be streaming the race from over there. Additionally, I will have Mr. Andy Small. We have talked to him about him a bunch on this show, teammate and butt of many of our jokes slash antagonizer of us. All in good fun, though. Andy, if you remember, if you watched our some of our stream stuff that we did last year for the Indy 500, Andy did some crew chiefing for Chad, and a lot of you guys really enjoyed that experience because he was there was a lot of information, and it kind of showed that teamwork sort of aspect to it. So Andy's going to be on my pit box for tomorrow night's race. So hopefully we'll be able to provide you at least something entertaining, or he'll be on my pit box for 10 laps. I'll crash the car, and then he'll just jump over to Chad's channel, who won't be streaming, but at least he'll be able to help him. Uh, as Andy put it, he's going to come and crew chief for me because I'm the one who's streaming. So, I mean, TV exposure for the win. So, so those are my plans for the night. So if you can't, or if you're not going to be racing tomorrow evening, make sure you head over to the Twitch channel and watch how I do. I did pretty good last year, but I don't know. I mean, I haven't got as much practice in this year as I did last year. I had extra time to practice last year because we tried to do the race and then it never happened. And then we had like a month and a half, 2 months, I think it was, before we actually got back to the actual race. So there was lots of time to practice. So I was prepared.
Yeah,
Um,
and you did well.
I did. I was very happy with that. So that is what's going on that side. I guess it'd be a good time just to make a couple of notes because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who race the IndyCar like just this time. Like they're not, they don't race the IndyCar a lot, but they might be coming out for, a special event such as this. There are a couple things you really need to know about the IndyCar. Figure just kind of go over them. We did last year too. There is a pit limiter on the IndyCar. So when you're going down pit road, you can hit a button and it will limit you to pit road speed to prevent you from getting speeding penalties. Make sure you map that to a button that is either on your wheel or easily accessible, so that you don't, so you have access to it. Plus, you know where it is. So, for example, if you just accidentally happen to turn it on somehow, you know how to turn it off, because going 60 miles an hour around Indy would probably make for a very long evening. The IndyCar also has engine mapping settings, which is how much power you are giving to the power plant in the car. That should also be assigned to a easily accessible button. They go from 1 to 9, I think it is. 10?
6.
6? Is it only up to 6? All right. 1 to something.
1 to 100.
With 1 being the most amount of power, and 6 apparently being the least amount of power. So you do not, from my understanding, and I think they may have tweaked that this year. It wasn't as unforgiving last year as it was, as it might be in this build. So we think running engine map 1, well, that's the fastest. That's what I should go with. Well, apparently that will put strain on your power plant and increases the chance that it's going to explode. The real Indy cars do not run full rich the entire time. Plus, obviously, you're using more fuel, so you can use that as a fuel strategy as well. So you might want to run in the 2 or 3, or if you're just trying to catch up to somebody, bump it up to 1 for a bit until you catch up, get their draft, then bump it down so you can save some fuel. If a caution comes out, bump it down to like 6, so that you can, save fuel, because you don't need to spend much fuel when you're just coasting at pit road speed or pacing speed. And also there is a thing called a weight jacker in that car, which is an in-car adjustment. I've been talking for a bit. Do you want to talk on that one, Chad?
I was enjoying it. Yeah, the Wayjacker is basically, I guess in a nutshell, it can help you free up the car or tighten up the car in a situation where you might find yourself being a little too tight or a little bit too loose. So basically, let's say you get behind a race car, or another car rather, that is not necessarily in your way, but you're just following them. The odds of you going into turn 1 or turn 3 or even turn 2 or 4, but especially 1 and 3, and getting super tight with aero push is going to be very good. In which case, you would want to mess around with your weight jacker to kind of, make sure you don't go flying into the outside wall, because that ruins your day.
Yep.
So basically, you can go from either positive 20 to negative 20 on that weight jacker, and the positive side is where you are going to free up the car a little bit in the turns, and the negative side is where you're going to make it a little bit tight. So if you are struggling a little bit with some freeness, try dropping it down a couple of clicks and seeing if it tightens you up a little bit and makes it a little bit more stable. If you're like, oh my gosh, I can't turn, help, then you probably want to add a lot of weight jacker. So that can help you in certain situations, but be forewarned that if you follow a car and you have your weight jacker turned up really high to make yourself loose, and then you pass them, and then you drive away from them, and let's say they get tight and they hit the wall or something, and you're by yourself, in clean air essentially, you're probably going to want to turn your weight jacker back down, because if you don't, you might go off into the next turn and be like, whee, into the wall. So just kind of a heads up there.
Yeah, these cars are we've talked about it before, but these cars are very aero sensitive when it comes to what's going on around them. Like Chad was saying, like I have been in a situation where the car is perfectly stable. I can hold it, the pedal right down to the floor all the way through the corner. I get behind somebody and I just slide right up and pound the wall, because it's basically, if you think about it, I know this isn't exactly what it's doing, but the way I kind of think about it is positive is like you're moving weight forward on the car. So you're pushing the nose down a little bit further into the air to get a better bite of the air. If you go negative, you're kind of pushing the front end up, the rear end down. So you're behind a car. Now, I know this isn't exactly the physics of it, but this is how it made sense to me. If you're behind a car, you're not getting as much air on your front wing, so obviously you can't turn as much. So if you kind of push that wing down a little bit, so a positive number, then you're going to get a bigger bite of the air because you don't have as much air because the car up there is all messing it up on you. So you'll actually be able to turn better. And if there's a car on your rear wing taking air off there, you want to push that down more into the air in order to get a bigger bite, so you're not all of a sudden going to lose all rear end grip. But like Chad said, it is very dependent. Like if you're up behind a car and you have to move positive a few notches in order to make sure that you stay off the wall, when you get around him, all of a sudden your front end has all the bite and all the air, and you're going to go into that first turn and you are just going to go rear end, boom, back around.
And another thing to keep in mind, it's weight jackers not just for draft stuff. It can also be with the tire wear on your car and less fuel. So, let's say you run most of your race in clean air and you're not really around other traffic. If after you've run, 25 laps on your fuel and tires, those are going to start to wear out. Your car's going to change handling wise, so you can play with your weight jacker there to make it tighter or looser depending on how your car is fitting. One thing that I will say, in case you're like, ooh, I don't know about all this weight jacker stuff, there's not necessarily a magic number. It's not like you have to run 8, in order to be best. It is dependent pretty much on your setup and, of course, how you drive. I might find 8 to be really awesome, and then Trevor runs the exact same setup as me, and he is so wicked loose he can't hold on to it, so he runs -2. So it's really just dependent upon your driving style and your setup as well. So if your teammate and you are running the exact same setup, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm running 10," that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to run that. So keep that in mind. But play with it all throughout the race.
Right.
It's going to change probably every single lap.
Yeah, it's actually a great point when you mentioned about the tire wear and the fuel load as well. Because for example, when I was doing my qualifying runs, I found that for lap 1 and 2 to lap 3 and 4, I had to run a different weight jacker just because you run low fuel for qualifying, and that burn off of fuel from 3 gallons starting to whatever it was at the end of lap 2 was enough to take the weight off the rear end that I couldn't, it wasn't getting any grip, and I was spinning out on lap 3 of every qualifying lap. So I actually had to take the weight jacker back down a couple notches just from that difference in fuel, or else I lost it. So it does make a big difference. Another thing with these cars, again, we're not the IndyCar experts, but just kind of giving out some advice for people who might, not have played with these cars before. The thing, one thing that always messes me up about these cars is that when you're going into a corner and you think that you don't have enough grip to get through the corner, your instinct is to come completely off of the throttle in order to slow down, because that's, I'm going too fast in this corner, I have to slow down. The problem with these cars is, because of the way they are, all these sort of open cockpit IndyCar F1 car type thing, when you slow down, you now have less air on the front wing, and you actually will become tighter. So you have to resist the urge to come completely off the throttle, or else you will actually make the problem worse.
A lot worse.
I've actually found where I've gotten off the throttle, like you play with the throttle, don't get me wrong, but get off the throttle a little bit, and then as I was coming towards the wall, I'd actually gun it back down to the floor to make the corner, because all of a sudden as I'm coming out towards the wall, I've slowed down a little bit, but then I'll give it that extra throttle in order to get the bite with the front wing, and that'll pull me around the corner. So be aware of that as well. But I think it's a general idea. Obviously get out there and practice, and definitely practice in the practice sessions. This is one I would say, don't worry about practicing on your own that much. Like if you're going to be racing this weekend, get into some open practices, get a feel for what the car feels like in traffic, because that is more important, because the car is pretty bloody stable on its own if you're just racing around the track. Obviously you have to, worry about normal stuff when you're driving a track, but it's way more important to know how the car is going to react when you're in traffic.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, I think that concludes our Indy 500 section of the race or the show. We'll obviously talk next week about how we did, and hopefully we will come back with all kinds of smiles, and I will have confetti all over the office because I still got that box behind me, ready to go. I have the boom confetti in the box, ready to go for when I win the Indy 500.
I need to go buy a new gallon of milk. So once I do that, I'll be ready.
Well, you probably don't have boom confetti to get ready to go. I mean, so. All right.
There ain't no way I'm going to win that race.
Well, there's no way Andy's convinced that he's going to crew chief me to a win. It's like you can only crew chief so much. You actually need some talent behind the wheel in order to win the race. You can't just take somebody off the street and say, I'm going to chief you up to a win because I've got the talent. And Andy's really good with the Indy cars. So, I mean, and he's really good at doing the crew chief job and, coaching you and giving you the information you need kind of thing. So, but you can only overcome the lack of talent so much. But hopefully I'll get a good finish out of it. Or everybody will crash and I'll just race around for 2 hours on my own and just win by default. Because I'll take by default. I'm not a proud man.
Cool.
All right. Before we get into the interview, which is coming up in just a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen, I know you've been waiting for the coup de grace or the main event. We'll go with the main event of the show. I just want to make one mention. I'll be kind of plugging this as we go along over the next 6 weeks or so. But we're getting close to my Extra Life stream. I will be doing a 24-hour gaming marathon to benefit my particular children's hospital, which is the Alberta Children's Hospital. In case you're not familiar with Extra Life, they are an organization, nonprofit. 100% of the proceeds go to the hospitals, where basically they get together groups of gamers who sit there and basically play games and collect donations in order to support whatever children's hospital they wish. I have some very personal reasons for why I'm doing what I'm doing. Actually, on my page, I put together a quick video just to kind of give you some background on my family and how the children's hospital affects me directly, and the time that I've spent in it. Unfortunately, great group of people. We have a great hospital here. Unfortunately, that you have to go there with your children. So this one hits me near and dear to the heart. It's something I really believe in, so I'm hoping that I can raise some money for the Children's Hospital. So I'll be doing that on the 10th and 11th of July. I'm planning on starting at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, which will be 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and sometime in August in GMT. I don't know how the time zones work. It's very weird with Europe.
I guess.
But, well, they're a different day. I don't know.
I don't think there's a whole month in between them.
Hopefully you guys can watch me do that stream. I'll be gaming for 24 hours, which, quite frankly, both fascinates and terrifies me because I'm a good gamer. Not good as in I'm good at it. I enjoy sitting down and gaming for long periods of time. 24 hours, keeping in mind in case there's any medical professionals listening to the show, I will be taking breaks. I mean, it's going to be 24 hours, yes, but I will get up to use facilities and eat. But I'll be gaming for 24 hours. I'm going to be doing some iRacing. I'll probably be doing some Grand Theft Auto. I'll be doing a bunch of other games. I've got a couple ideas about some other games I want to put in there as well. So hopefully you'll be able to join me on that stream. Which will obviously be on my Twitch channel. And if you want, you can head on over to my Extra Life page in order to get kind of the lowdown on what's going on with me, why I'm doing this, and to donate if you have the extra money and feel it in your heart to do so. And that is over at www.extra-life.org/participant. I'm a participant. /Trevor Cameron. So if you want to head over there, I'll put that in the show notes, and I'll be sending that on Twitter every now and again as well. And if you feel you can, I would certainly appreciate a donation. I'm hoping to raise $1,000 through the power of all you wonderful listeners, at least helping me out, because we know there's a bunch of you out there. So hopefully you come over there, and even if you can't donate, I hope you come over and stop by and chat and keep me entertained and awake. And I'm guessing somewhere's around hours 18 to 24 will probably be me at my rambliest, or I'll be half sleeping. I'm not sure which, but hopefully we'll have some fun and you guys can join me. So That's on the 10th of July at 9 a.m. Mountain, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So, I have said all that. And now, I don't know, what do you say? Do you want to do an interview or something? Or play an interview? That seems like a good
Yeah,
idea.
I think we should invite Mr. Tony into the studio.
I think that's a great idea. So, we'll, I'll say we'll take a quick break, but that's not really what we're doing. I will take a quick, hey, I got to hit some buttons on my broadcast studio here, and we will talk to you guys on the other end of this interview. I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, we have Mr. Tony Gardner, president of iRacing, joining us today. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today, Tony.
Thanks, Chad. It's a pleasure to be on the iRacing Today radio show, and that's awesome what you guys do. And I guess we're around the 100th episode, so that's great. Thanks for doing the show. It's great. I listen to it when I can.
Now, is that true, Tony? Do you actually listen to us? Because that would make my day.
I do, but it's very sporadic, to be honest.
Well, fair enough. You're a busy man, and pretty much anything that we're talking about you already know about, but we can let you know when we do special episodes where we're interviewing some of the members of the community, because we love to do that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But anyway, it's like I said, it's pretty great that you've taken the time to join us here, but I think everybody generally knows kind of how you got to this point, but I don't know that everybody does, because a lot of people have joined our show who are new to iRacing and haven't been following it since the beginning. So would you mind just kind of giving us a brief rundown as to how we kind of got to this point from back in the early days? I mean, as far as I know, it started at Papyrus, but I'm sure there was some preamble to that as well.
You mean how iRacing got to this point, or how I got to this point? I think you mean iRacing, right?
Well, I mean, I guess how iRacing got to this point, but I mean, it kind of all started back in the old days with the IndyCar racing and stuff. We're actually, I guess a better question might be, you were actually part of the old company back then, weren't you?
No, I was not. That's why I asked the question. So yeah, the company started back in the Papyrus days. So I wasn't there, so that I probably won't get the years right, but it was, the early, probably the late 90s and things like that. But I didn't join iRacing until 2008, early 2008, just before we launched. So I don't date back to the Papyrus days.
Oh, okay. See, there's something I wasn't aware of. So they, because I mean, there is a lot of old ex-Papyrus guys on the team. So how did you become part of the team there?
The Papyrus guys, it was basically, Papyrus was basically a development studio, and I'm not an engineer. So there is a lot of Papyrus guys here. I don't know off the top of my head, but 10 or 12 or 15 or something like that. And I have a software background, but more of a business person, operations, finance, obviously involved in development, coming from a software background. But they hired me to kind of help on the business side. So, Dave and the old Papyrus team could focus more on engineering and not worry about the day-to-day things that I worry about.
Okay. So you joined into the team just before, because it was back in 2008 when iRacing originally launched, wasn't it?
Yeah, we launched in it was June 2008. Soft launch, and then sort of a hard launch in August of 2008. And I actually came here at the very end of 2007. Again from trying to pull the business side together. To all the things you need to start a company, rather than just worry. The rest of the guys were more worried about building the product, and I was sort of charged with sort of getting the company up and running from a business perspective.
That's actually got to be a pretty interesting endeavor to kind of get into launching a company off the ground, especially something that's back at the time was quite unique. And at the time back in 2008, racing simulators weren't exactly on a high point. So this kind of started a new renaissance, I guess, when it comes to simulation racing.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of definitely a lot of strategy meetings and what we were trying to accomplish, and the way we saw the market and the problems with the market, and what we tried to fulfill the kind of the niche or the need of sim racers out there. And I think our centralized service was a huge part of that, and the whole competition structure, having everything basically one-stop shopping for sim racers. Get them all together in one place. We saw that as a big problem opportunity, depending on how you want to look at it. And that was a core element for us, is a centralized service. Very expensive to do that, and very expensive to develop that way. You go much slower because everything is connected together. So that's why things move a little slower. It's much easier to drop a feature in. In a standalone download than what we do, but that was a very important element for us, and we're really the only ones that to this day are doing it, because it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, actually, I guess it's an interesting point, because, like I said, when you guys came to market, it was a very unique approach, I guess, as opposed to games that were just developing a game, as opposed to developing a system, developing a service more than an actual product per se. So, what was it about that, what iRacing wanted to be, what you guys had kind of brought to market, that made you sure that this was going to work, that this is what the market actually wanted to have?
Well, I think, definitely people were very frustrated, trying to find races, trying to find races and people to race with. That's certainly a frustration. People that aren't very technical, trying to find files and get on equal footing, get the same car setups, the same cars. And so, the sim racing market, that was definitely a problem. And the matchmaking part of it, getting people that didn't have the time to figure out where to find leagues and where to find this or that, all get on the same product. So that was a big part of what we tried to do. And also the competition was very important, where we could have a matchmaking, and then go from rookie to pro, all that sort of stuff. And that definitely need a centralized service to do that, and all the things that we had to put in play. Safe driving was another big thing, and safety rating, and skills rating, and things like that. But we also wanted to do something. We also wanted to try to make the sim racing market's kind of a pretty small niche of the overall race gaming market, and we also wanted to try to expand the sim racing market by bringing new people into sim racing. And to do that, you also need something that's relatively simple. That people aren't going to get frustrated with technology, where people could just come in and download something and have everything they need sitting there. So that one-stop shop for everyone was important to us as well. So I guess trying to cater to the frustrations in the sim market, the existing sim market, and also expand the size of the sim market were two primary objectives.
Well, I would say that you've done a pretty good job of that so far. Speaking of kind of adding on to the way that iRacing does things, laser scanning is obviously one of the biggest features, I guess, that you guys have. And you obviously, in case people are listening who don't know, you laser scan the tracks and cars, which obviously adds a lot of time to developing the track or the car and getting it released. But obviously that delivers a way more authentic experience to all of us that play it. But in a marketplace of other similar products that can release tracks much quicker, is it tough to stick to that? Because I know that sometimes you really want to push out, a track or a car, like probably the Nürburgring, or however you say that. That's a huge track, a big development for you guys. But obviously you wanted to get it out there as quick as you can.
Yeah, Chad, that's a good point. It is yes and no to answer your question. Yes, it is frustrating. You see, sometimes other games are coming out with a 10-pack of cars, or or modders are making tracks for the company, and so it is kind of frustrating that we do take way more time working on the detail of a track, and officially license it, pay all that money to license it. Pay all that money for the laser scan to go scan it, pay for all that, while sending a crew of people to the track to take pictures and videos to get everything right, even sometimes paying for additional data outside of the laser scan, and then the most time-consuming thing is doing all the artwork the way we do it, and getting all the details done. But I mean, I think that's what our brand is, and so it is a little frustrating from that perspective that we move slower, as we know people want more and more and more. But at the same time, we think it's worth it to get that precision. And I think it's paid off, and it's really helped our brand and our identity. And I think at the end of the day, people would rather have quality over quantity, and so we strongly believe in that. And so we're going to keep doing it the way we're doing, and really no regrets from that perspective.
Well, I'm one of those people that is glad to hear that for sure, because even though it takes longer to get a certain track, I love that you guys take the time to make them as authentic as you can. Because that's kind of why I joined iRacing, was for the realism aspect of it. And to have all this stuff laser scanned and as accurate as it can possibly be, that makes me a happy customer.
Yeah, I think I think you're among the majority. But and at this point, whatever it is, 8 years later, I mean, there is a large portfolio of tracks. People had to wait a long time, but I don't know this for sure, but I think we probably have the most tracks of any game, and they're all laser scanned, officially licensed. So, and we have a good number of cars too. I don't know, we have 75 tracks and growing, and whatever it is, 40 plus cars. So at this point, I don't think it's that much of an issue with so many cars and tracks available.
And to kind of further one other thing you said there, I'm also kind of glad that you mentioned, how much money it costs to get the license for the stuff, get the plane ticket to go scan a track like Silverstone, for example, or all that stuff that goes into it. Because sometimes I wonder how much people know or realize just how much effort and time and money you guys really do put into this stuff. Between the initial stage of getting the license to get Bristol Motor Speedway and traveling there, scanning it, takes, depending on the track size, it could take a few days, I'm sure, and then bringing it back and building it, that's a long process. So I just kind of, I guess what I'm getting at is I wanted to bring back up your point about the time and effort, because it is a lot that goes into these tracks, and it is a pretty neat deal that you guys have going on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it literally is hundreds of thousands of dollars per track. Some I put it's plural, hundreds of thousands, and we don't even get our money back often, ever, or for years, and but that's okay. I think it helps the overall service, but that's why we do charge for. We do charge for tracks and cars. I wish we didn't have to, but if we want to keep doing what we're doing, we have to do something to fund the company. Otherwise, we could just, I guess, turn it into a modding type product, and there's plenty of those out there. So to do what we do, which is much different, this is the model we need to have, something like this.
Yeah, like you said, there are other avenues for people who want to go in that direction, and I always find it kind of amusing when people talk about comparing newer products to, or different products to iRacing, and it's like, well, they're not really going after the same market. You guys are kind of a very niche market where you're trying to get the people who are looking for this exact experience, not, like you said, just a ton of tracks and cars on a disc that. Sure, they're close representations, but they're not exact representations. So it's good to hear your point of view on that. Although you did mention that from launch to now, now you have 75 plus tracks and all this going on. So obviously a lot's happened since launch. I was one of the people who was in the pre-launch back in 2008, and I know from my perspective that a lot has changed in the product and the service since that time. If you kind of looking back, I know it's kind of probably a loaded question, but what would you say is the most important thing that's kind of changed over these 5+ years here?
Well, I don't know if there's one thing. I think like I said, the centralized architecture and service was a key element, but that was there when we launched, and we've added a lot to it. But it's been so many things. I think if you looked at all of our release notes, they're hundreds of pages long now, but adding adding open practice. People probably don't realize we didn't have open practice. Adding hosted racing in leagues. Of course, all the new functionality that we've added over the years. Multi-class racing and all the different types of racing you could do, and just working on improving the graphics and everything over time. But obviously leagues and the team functionality was big. But I don't know if I could put my finger on one thing. Obviously the physics is really important to us. We spend a lot of time on that, and over the years have really improved a lot of those models. The tire model and the suspension model and the aero model, et cetera, and the different physics is obviously come a long way over the years, and something that we continue to spend a ton of our time on.
Yeah, we've actually brought it up on the show before, where it's every now and again we'll just kind of go back and it's like when they launched. I mean, there wasn't, like you're saying, open practices. There weren't. You couldn't customize your car number. Just simple things like that just wasn't there at launch. And it's amazing to look at the product now, and then looking ahead as to some of the plans that you guys have moving forward as to how it's going to change in the future. Which I guess. You can't really nail down what has caused the product to change, or was the most important change over the years. And I can do math. It's been 7+ years, not 5. And on the fly. But what do you think coming up is kind of the most thing that gets you most excited about what's moving forward with the product?
Well, there's some great stuff on the physics side. Obviously, that's always a focus, and we're making some good progress there. But I'm excited about some of the the visual things that are coming along. Moving to working on physical based rendering. In visual terms, things like metal and plastic and glass and leather will look much more photorealistic and more natural. And accurate, which is what we're always trying to do. So, the light will reflect more accurately, and the shadows created will be more accurate. So, again, like everything else we do, actually in the game space, that's a lot of games are starting to do that. But something we're working on is a physical-based rendering for the graphics. Obviously, that in combination with DX11. But shorter term, I'm pretty excited about the road surface project, where the track will dynamically heat up and cool off, and rubber will build up and things like that. And hopefully, we release that this year. We hope you'll actually be able to. We'll include an infrared camera, so you'll be able to see how the track heats up and things like that. So it'll be and that's visual too, with the rubber bouncing and marbles and dirt kicking up. I'm also excited about the new damage model we're working on, both physical and graphical, where you'll see car parts falling off the car and in a real way based on the physics. Working on a new particle system. So again, things are going to look cooler and more realistic, with grass and rocks and gravel kicking up from the car, and the smoke from the car will look a lot better, and backfires will look better, and so that this whole new particle system we're excited about, and we're working on a lot of we're always working on fundamentals. More anti-cheat measures we're adding this year, just to make sure everything's on a level playing field. Things along those lines. So those are some of the bigger things we're working on that I'm pretty excited about. We're working on more animation as well, pit crews, things like that. So it's both visual and cool, but all the stuff I'm talking about is getting us even more realistic. When I talk about things like the road surface and something like that, is every race is going to be different now, because the track's going to heat up differently, and the line will change on the track. The cars might be moving around the track based on the rubber buildup and the heat and things like that. So it's just going to make every race more dynamic.
Now that will be cool. That's definitely, I think right now, out of everything that you guys have told us that you have on the horizon, that's kind of probably my favorite one to look forward to. Just because, I mean, that's what you see on TV, and you kind of want to do it in your own sim world as well. One question that I have that is just kind of random. It's not really a big deal, so if you don't know the answer, it's okay. But I've just always been curious about this. In the painting section of the members' website, has there ever been any plans or thoughts about adding a way to add the person's name, like above the driver door or the passenger door, or like along the side or something? Because right now we just have it on our windshield on some of the cars, and you can't do it otherwise. And I've always been curious that that was going to be possible one day.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. We are working. We have this other new system we're working on called Coherent, but we'll be able to do a lot more like that, where you'll be able to look at your car, paint your car, and look at it real time versus need to paint your car, go into the sim to see what you did. So there'll be a lot of things like that, and I'm sure it'll be a lot better system to customize your car. I can't promise that adding your name on the side will be part of it, but that's a type of thing we're trying to do, and we're already, sort of already working on that with this new system we're putting in place right now. That's part of the whole. We did a video on the user interface and the user experience, and that's all part of it. That's another exciting thing we're working on. We released a short video on it a couple weeks ago or a month ago, talking about it a little bit, but that's another big project in the background.
Okay, I was just always curious about that. I didn't know if there was a license issue or it just hadn't been done or whatever, because I'm just one of those curious minds.
No, I think that's more of a technical issue and just getting it all stored, getting everything to work together. Again, as part of this centralized system, how to worrying about all sorts of things, replays and remote cars and things like that. So there's always a lot to think about. Something that may seem simple is really not.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's actually one of the things that Sean had mentioned when we had him on the show. It was one thing that he was very adamant on, is the fact that the user looks at something and says, "Well, why can't they just do this?" And not realizing all of the things that have to go on in the background and the infrastructure to make that one simple little thing happen.
Yeah, exactly. I think we sort of created a monster with the way we do it, but it seems like nothing is as simple as it seems.
And you actually mentioned that user interface video that came out a while ago. That's a huge change for the way that iRacing is going to function, taking things away from the website a lot and having a lot of things actually operating in sim. That's going to be a scary prospect moving forward. Like, so that has to be a huge project.
Yeah, it is. It is a big project, and we've been working on it a long time, and you want to get it right too. So it's not just the engineering part of it, but there's a lot of stopping and it's about everyone having a better user experience, and we worry about new people coming in and what kind of experience they have. We have so much now that I think we almost confuse people. What should somebody new coming in do first, and things like that, and then also for the experienced user, just having a better experience, making the product more intuitive, making it look better, and frankly looking more modern. So there's a lot of design time that goes into it, not just sort of straight technical conversion into creating this new application. But there's also a lot of good reasons to do it from a performance perspective. Get people off the website and get them into the sim. From a performance perspective, that's a critical element of the project as well.
And that actually kind of leads into my next question as well, is I don't know if people understand, and quite frankly, as lay people out on the outside, we don't understand as well, but how much time from a development point of view is actually spent on developing new content versus actually working on iterating on the features that you already have? Like, is there I guess the general split between let's make stuff that's new tracks, new cars, and, working on just making the product and the service better overall?
Right. I think, you'd have to talk about everything differently. Like cars, for example, probably, 75% of the time from an art perspective, we're working on new things. But even that, for example, this build coming up in 2 weeks, we're going to roll out a whole new Legends car, all new artwork, rolling out a new Toyota Cup car. That'll be just a new, because the car got a new nose, so
That makes
we're,
me happy.
we're giving everybody the new nose for the Toyota Cup car. It's not going to be, you'll get that for free, just in case somebody's wondering. But for the most part, artwork, probably art-wise, production-wise, probably 75% of the time it's new cars. Like right now they're working on the Aston Martin for the build, and there's about 4 other cars they're working on that some of them haven't been announced yet. Physics-wise, I'd say it's more like 50-50, or even more like 60% of the time they're working on older cars, working on GT3 cars, or right now they're kind of taking a look at the Corvette, or because the tire model changed, or we have a new suspension model, they have to kind of go back through all the cars again. So that even more like 70% of the time, I would say, from a physics perspective, our race engineers are working on old cars versus new cars. Track-wise, I'd say 80% of the time we're working on new tracks. We're making a concerted effort to go back and work more on older tracks too, though, kind of putting the time aside. We have to do it. Some of our tracks are getting old, and we definitely want to, we have been upgrading them slowly, some of them, but we want to spend more time going back to old tracks. So we kind of, that probably mixes a little out of balance. We probably want to get more like 70% of the time on new tracks and 30% of the time on old tracks, but right now it's probably more like 80-20 or 90-10.
All right, so kind of switching gears here just a little bit, but obviously iRacing has a pretty large community with different people, and I guess we're just curious. Has it surprised you, or is it something that you almost expected in a way, that people such as Steve Lewender and Michael Main and all these people, I mean, I can't even name them all, but that have created things such as Trading Paints, or all the things that Michael's done, and Derek Spear Designs and all that stuff, has that been cool to see, surprised you? What are your thoughts on how the community has kind of helped out, and I guess, in a way?
Well, number one, it's awesome. Owe those guys a lot. They it's a big part of it, as you guys know. So it's awesome that they get involved and help. And Steve Luvander and Michael Main, the guys you mentioned, there's dozens more that really, even the guys that send the, that organize each series, and I work with a lot of those guys on the track schedules, and those guys put in a tremendous amount of time too. So it really is a great community, and I think that's what makes it. So all those guys a lot of thanks. And but somebody, something like Steve Levander, I mean, that goes above and beyond the Call of Duty, what he's done with Trading Paints, and so that's awesome what he's done. And that sort of does surprise me that somebody would go to that length, but good for everybody. And we try to support those guys best we can whenever we can.
Yeah, it's I know Steve. It's we've interviewed him on the show as well, and it's kind of a bit of a labor of love for him. He really enjoys doing what he's doing, and I think he's quite happy that he's added to the community so much. I mean, obviously, like you said, there are dozens of people, but Steve in particular, just because we kind of quote unquote know him. We're internet friends with Steve, so so we're well aware of his efforts, and it obviously adds a lot to the sim.
Yeah, definitely. He stops by the office once a year sort of thing, and it's always great to see him and catch up with him. And we talk to him more often about, technical things to make sure that, we're working as well as we can with him as a third-party site. Actually, in this build, we have people will be able to share laps. How you can ghost race now against your own car. In this build, you'll be able to ghost race against other cars too, and so I don't know if Steve's going to create some sort of system now for that too, where you can store people's laps, and so you can ghost race. I could ghost race against your laps, and I could even ghost race against. You could even have cars where I could be in a GT3 car and I could ghost race against your LMP car or whatever for the hell of it. could do a Legends car and an F1 car out there ghost racing against each other. But anyway, who knows? I mean, somebody he might get involved in doing that too. I haven't even talked to him about that, but who knows?
That's actually a really good point there, and well, exciting to hear about some new features coming up. But it's I didn't even realize that you guys had such a close relationship with Steve, and I guess that makes sense because otherwise, his product probably wouldn't make a lot of sense if you guys weren't willing to work with him to make sure that you do things that doesn't break what he's done, kind of thing. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, we definitely fully support him and talk to him. If not on occasion, then at times frequently.
So moving forward, I guess, a little bit away from the sim per se, but there are hundreds of track and car combinations on iRacing, obviously, that we can race in the virtual world. Is there? Well, I don't. Have you ever actually had a chance to race around in an actual race car? And if not, have you? What would be your dream combination that you'd like to try out?
A lot of the guys here are the roots guy. Racing runs through their veins. I'm sort of new to it and growing to appreciate it. I've gone out and done some racing, one-day racing schools and things like that. But that's about the extent of it. I don't know. I'd probably just like to get a cup car out around Daytona or a GT3 car around Spa or something like that. That would probably be my dream.
So kind of taking that a step further, I know you're a busy guy, but do you get a chance to race on iRacing very much? And if so, do you do any leagues or anything like that?
I do. I don't race as much as I would like. I do spend a lot of time doing sort of QA stuff, believe it or not, for us, just checking things out, and so I can talk to the developers about things. So I spend a lot of time sort of offline looking at things. But I have over 100 career races on iRacing officially, but I've never even come close to winning, so I'm pretty bad. But I'm getting a little better slowly but surely. I raced in a league we had here in the office for a while, and I was bad at that too, but I enjoy it. It's fun. I'm not very good though.
I was going to say, did you hear that, Chad? I have more wins than Tony. I only have like 6. It's been a constant joke on the show, the fact of that I just don't race that well myself. But I have more wins than Tony, Chad. So we can take that to the bank.
Yeah, like I said, there's a new damage feature coming, and the joke around the office is I'm the best one to test that. Me and this other, actually the guy working on damage, we're in competition for being the worst drivers in the office, Richard Drobling, but so I'm the official tester of our damage model.
All right. I guess that's a good thing.
Well, I mean, you at least he owns it. See, that's the thing. See, that us people who don't win that many races, we have to own our strengths. And I would probably be very good at, well, actually not as good as our teammate Lewis. He'd probably actually get the damage model more testing than I would, but I'd be a close second, I think. But speaking of new features, obviously we've got a new build coming up in the next little bit. But a kind of side question to that: do you actually? I mean, obviously. It's actually really cool, and we've mentioned on the show in the past the fact that you are active on the forums. Like, it's not normal for the president of the company, or somebody in the higher management team to be active in a community of a game. Like, a lot of times the game gets released, they're doing business stuff, and they're not part of that community. And we see you posting on the forums, a fair bit. How often do you actually have a chance to just kind of look at the suggestions? Because that is just a deluge of information that's coming at you. I mean, it's got to be hard to kind of weed through what's in there. I mean, obviously there's a lot of unrealistic suggestions or requests in there. Do you have a chance to actually kind of look through there and get some useful information from the forums?
Yeah, definitely. It's a good. It's not the only source of information for sure, but it's a good source of information. And I'm on the forums every day. Probably a minimum of 15 minutes, but oftentimes a lot longer than that. And it's a good source of information. It's a good chance for us to also provide some information to the members. And so that's why I am vocal. I mean, there would be obviously no iRacing without them, and so I do like to talk to customers directly. through the forums and through many other means. But I think that's important to that we stay as a market-driven company and stay in close touch with the customers. So anyway, there is definitely some good stuff on there. And actually, one of the there was a string on there about this past. To give an example, somebody did a forum post about our black flags and how our caution black flags and how the black flag would just kind of pop up on the screen, and you wouldn't really know. And yet, it's a slowdown penalty. You wouldn't really know how long that black flag was up there and how much to slow down, and there was some complaining about that. And the members were right. And so in this build, we're rolling out a timer with the black flag, so you can kind of see how long the black flag is going to be up, and as you're slowing down, you see it counting down and going away. So it gives the racer a better chance to get going and not get slow down so much that it's damaged their race more than it should. So that came directly from a forum string, and getting going on that as a small example.
Okay, excellent. Well, I mean, I guess you kind of let us know a little bit about the ghost racing. I guess before we let you go, is there any other little tidbits about that you can let us know about the upcoming build here? We're not too far off. Any secrets you can share, Tony?
No, I think that's it for now. There's definitely some surprises in there, but definitely five flags. The short track will be in the build. There'll be the Aston Martin GT1 car that will race with the Corvette in a new GT1 series. Just be a few other surprises, and there should be a new version of the tires on a number of cars, tire model version 6 at this point. But there's some good surprises in the works this year for sure that we've never talked about. This build, not necessarily in this build, but there's some good things going on. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, I had to try. You can't blame me.
I don't blame you.
I appreciate the time, Tony. Anything else that you want to mention before we let you go?
No, I just really want to, thank you guys for doing the show. And again, you guys are part of the community. We were talking about, all the great things people in the community do, and you guys, Chad and Trevor, you guys are part of that, and I appreciate it. And I just want to thank all the members too. So, for being our customers, and we're going to continue to move ahead as fast as we can to do everything we can to make iRacing the best sim. So that's about it.
All right, Tony. Well, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with us, and I know our fans will definitely enjoy it.
All right. Well, thanks, Chad. Thanks, Trevor. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed that as much as we enjoyed doing it with Tony. It was a lot of fun. There was a couple little, I don't know, there was some, not necessarily leaks, but there's some stuff that we might not necessarily have known about in there. So a little bit of extra information, which, a couple of those things that popped into my head. And then Chad mentioned as he was talking what he was talking about with the new Toyota nose apparently was in the Five Flags video, which I completely missed. So.
Yeah, it was only there for 1 second, but it was definitely there.
Oh, well, yeah, but your Toyota radar was up, so it was like, oh, wait, there it is. I see it.
My baby. Yes, my Toyota radar is always at 100% looking ready.
My Toyota radar.
Hey, if I jump into a Talladega race, I'm always looking for my Yodas.
Yeah, I just want to say again, thanks to Tony for taking the time. I know, we mentioned, he's a busy man. It was a huge deal for us to get Tony to come on the show. I mean, because obviously he's kind of, I don't know, runs the company. Why that is why we do what we do here. So it was definitely very cool to talk to Tony and have him spend some time with us and give some information to the fan base, which is really cool.
Yes, absolutely. It was very enjoyable. Like I said on last week's show, the very first part of the interview, I was just kind of sitting there and I was totally more interested in just listening. And then I kind of was like, wait, I have to talk, It was that.
I love listening to this conversation. Oh
I
wait,
know.
I'm part of this conversation.
I need to actually, ask a question. But yeah, it was very cool. It was awesome to get to do it for our 100th show because we're kind of making a big deal out of this. So I thought that was pretty darn cool, and I will second what you said and thank Mr. Tony for taking time out of his day to come chat with us for a bit.
Yep. I mean, and it was a big deal. Or
Yeah,
it is a big deal for us to have our 100th show. I mean, we want to do something special, and I think that was based on the media that we are, that we are in. I think getting the president of iRacing on to join our show. I think that's where we needed to go for our 100th show to make it special.
absolutely. Now, one thing we did learn tonight is that I'm more famous than Trevor. I will just leave it at that.
Hey, my name was mentioned. It just there was a.
I don't know. I heard thanks, Chad, there at the beginning, so I don't know.
Yes, I know. That's I laughed
Okay,
every time when I was editing everything down. Every time that happened, I'm listening to sound checks and editing and stuff. Every time I heard that, I just laughed.
Yes. When it actually happened live, when we were doing the interview live, I was using push to talk, and I am going to be dead serious. It's a good thing because I burst out laughing when it was happening live because it was just priceless. It was a great way to kick off the interview.
It was, and like I said, actually to get some background on Tony, because
Yeah.
I'd always thought that Tony was back from the Papyrus days and had kind of come over to those guys. I didn't realize he'd come in as a business manager to help, the ex-Papyrus guys, who did the software side, and he just came in as the business manager to kind of help form the company and stuff. So didn't realize that. So that was kind of cool to learn as well.
Yeah. So, very, very neat interview, and I hope that all of you out there enjoyed it because I know that Trevor and I did.
Yeah, like I said, we like to give back, and I think that was our gift to you on our 100th anniversary. Well, okay, it hasn't been 100 years, but it's been 100. It's been more than 100 weeks. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, that's basically our show for the week. Finish off on a huge high note with Mr. Tony in there. So remember the Indy 500 starting tomorrow night. So make sure that you're, if you want to get one of those races in, head on over there, do some practice, watch for my stream of my attempt at the Indy 500 tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern time on my Twitch channel over there at Ratface Productions. Hang out and chat and have some fun, and hopefully I'll be able to provide you with at least, if not good racing, some good entertainment.
Yes, and make sure that if you do race in the Indy 500, that shameless plug here, you maybe drop a line about how we interviewed Tony.
Yes, for all of our loyal listeners out there, spread the word and make sure everybody knows that we had the interview, so that we've been doing our best to make sure that people were aware, so they would listen in. But keep spreading the words.
While you drink a glass of milk.
Absolutely. But anyway, as we do each and every week, we will say that'll about do it for this week. A big, huge thanks to all of you out there for listening for these 100 shows. We really, really do appreciate it, and have so much fun doing this, and we're going to keep doing it until it's no longer fun or you guys no longer care. So as long as those things don't happen, we'll still be here. Remember, the show is available for download on iTunes and Zune under the podcast section, where we would really appreciate a review to help us get the word out. If you haven't done so already, of course, the show is also available on YouTube and Twitch at Ratface Productions, and mirrored over on Chad's YouTube channel, which is It's Chadillac. You can check out the website for information, archives, links, and the polls we mentioned on the show. And remember, we need some poll suggestions. If you have any thoughts, send them our way so we can incorporate them into our polls, because, hey, May's just about over. So we're going to have a new poll up soon. And it could be yours, unless Chad already has an idea. And if then July's could be yours. And you can do all those wonderful things over at our website, which is iRacingTodayRadio.com. You can give the show a like on Facebook by searching for the iRacing Today radio show over there while you're not playing Candy Crush. And, of course, you can follow us on Twitter. And I will be at, as I always am, at iRacing Today. And Chad is at It's Chadillac.
If you have any questions or comments or post Tony Gardner interview thoughts, and of course, poll suggestions that we've already told you to send in, you can also send those to feedback@iracingtodayradio.com or Facebook/tweet us as well. Feel free to add Trevor and myself as friends on the iRacing.com members website. And if you're not a member yet and you think, wow, that's really cool, I just listened to the president of the company talk, I got to get on that. When you do, please refer either Trevor or myself in the referral box when you sign up. Trevor's email is ratface@gmail.com and mine is iracinglegend@gmail.com. But until next week, ladies and gentlemen, remember that the race is rarely won in the first turn.
But it is often lost there. Good night, everybody.